Chosen one. This moment isn't random. It's divine. You didn't stumble here by accident. Something bigger than you led you to this exact second, because you are chosen. You are being called, not later, not someday, right now. There is something powerful brewing in the unseen, and you are part of it. You can feel it, can't you? That stirring inside, that quiet knowing that something extraordinary is coming. This isn't just another message. It's a confirmation, a wake-up call, a spiritual ignition. You are not like everyone else. You are set apart for something greater. And what you do in the next few days could shift your entire path. So open your heart, quiet the noise, and listen closely, because what's coming is going to require bold faith, sharp focus, and unshakable trust. You're not just witnessing a move of God, you're part of it. A rare convergence approaches, one that carries the weight of immense transformation. In moments like this, the ordinary shifts into the extraordinary, and what is held becomes more than just matter. It becomes momentum. What once seemed simple now stands on the edge of divine expansion. Resources take on a living rhythm, pulsing with the potential to unfold a future far beyond current comprehension. The moment of movement will not come with noise, but with clarity. Aligning with it requires more than awareness. It requires spiritual alignment with an invisible signal that can only be felt, not forecast. This isn't a moment to ignore or delay. It's an activation point that separates readiness from hesitation. In the next few days, the unseen will speak through subtle nudges, and the wise will recognize the direction etched within silence. Every action, every decision is a thread being woven into a larger design. This message carries urgency, not panic, intention, not impulse. Stop here, focus, tune in before continuing. Engagement is not symbolic. It shapes the channel through which this message travels. A shared action creates resonance. Echo the number 55 as a mark of alignment, not as ritual, but as a declaration. Energy responds to intention. For those attuned to this pulse, the moment to emerge is now. The path ahead requires the fullness of your presence. Commit to the unfolding. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. A higher current moves through the unseen layers, sending out a call. Not advice, but divine instruction masked in mystery. Not a forecast, but a blueprint of sacred precision. The instruction is clear. Hold what you have, not out of fear, but out of purpose. Every resource is not merely an asset, it is a promise in embryonic form, requiring silence, not noise, stillness, not movement. The days ahead are not idle. They are an invitation to stand prepared, not in action, but in posture. Value held is not to be traded carelessly. It is waiting for a catalyst, and that spark is not yet revealed. Let the world spin. The wise remain grounded. Many will move too fast. The call, however, is to pause and protect what will soon multiply. Timing matters. Trust matters more. Discipline is no longer about restraint. It is a gateway. Listening becomes the most radical act. There's no virtue in haste. To wait is not weakness. It is spiritual courage. The opening that approaches will not ask. It will demand. The faithful will already be in position. You have not been left adrift. This message reaches the ones already chosen. There is weight in this responsibility, and brilliance waiting behind it. Now is not the hour of panic. It is the season of preparation. To rise is to recognize the moment before it arrives and act only when the invisible becomes undeniable. Step beyond the screen. Join and help light the way for others. A moment arrives that quietly rearranges the air around it, a threshold unlike any encountered before. Something vast approaches, silent yet weighty, a sacred pulse, humming beneath the surface of everyday life. What now stands dormant prepares to awaken with great force, opening not a physical gate, but a rift of boundless transformation. The energies of thought, purpose, and stored value begin to shimmer, their potential expanding beyond ordinary measure. This is not folklore or metaphor, but a rare intersection of sacred timing and awakened awareness. Events like this do not announce themselves with noise, but settle in the spirit with certainty. When aligned, even the unseen begins to take shape, and what once required effort now moves with ease. The inner work already done, commitments honored in silence, are about to echo through new dimensions of possibility. Alignment isn't found in frenzy, but in preparation. Those attuned to what whispers rather than shouts will find themselves already positioned. It's not excitement alone, but reverence that fills this hour. A sacred shift begins when the unspoken becomes undeniable, an unseen invitation stretching between realms, calling forward the willing and aware. Changes don't wait for comfort. The shift is not announced by calendars or clocks. When it arrives, it rearranges everything, not by force, but by undeniable presence. What is coming doesn't simply offer opportunity, it redraws direction. This is a call to meet transformation, not with resistance, but with deep-rooted trust and inner readiness. This is not abstract ideology. It is reality confirmed through spiritual resonance. Frequencies shift, and everything held in thought and feeling vibrates louder, wider. The fabric of the moment sharpens. Purpose gains momentum. Intentions deepen their roots, drawing sustenance from realms unseen. What is managed today becomes the foundation of what blooms tomorrow. Actions now become echoes later. To steward wisely means to see beyond surface, to sense where true value lies. It's not just about holding on, it's about holding right. The energy of what is kept multiplies when carried with vision, not fear. Navigating this surge requires composure. One must carry clarity like a compass. Currency becomes less a possession, more a placeholder for future resonance. The act of holding isn't passive, it's an offering of trust toward what is being sculpted in the unseen. Letting it sit in silence is a louder declaration than spending ever could be. Printed bills mean little in the vast architecture of spirit. They represent belief, but carry no inherent weight in the divine economy. They are placeholders, not powerhouses. The spiritual field does not recognize their texture, only their intention. What truly activates the energetic blueprint lies elsewhere. What anchors divine exchange isn't ink or numbers, it's matter that remembers. Some elements, shaped long before time had meaning, hum with a frequency that matches heaven's architecture. Their presence doesn't just store worth, it reflects alignment. Within them is encoded the vibration that invites increase, balance, and flow. These ancient materials do not just sit, they respond. They amplify, they mirror, trust in form. And when finances are moved into such vessels, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. This is not about ownership, it is about preparation. When intention crystallizes within creation, miracles respond. Transformation isn't passive, it demands motion, a conscious act that turns potential into presence. Untouched, wealth remains like dormant light, locked in a prism. The call now is clear. Shift what is held into forms that carry resonance beyond their surface. This isn't indulgence, it's calibration, a spiritual gesture, aligning substance with frequencies that awaken overflow. The move is symbolic, yet charged with quiet thunder. Some materials have been chosen across time to serve not as trophies, but as vessels. Their essence speaks of continuity, of incorruptible strength, of worth untouched by trend or decay. When resources are translated into these conduits, a current is unlocked. The number loses significance. What matters is the action, the spiritual signature behind it, an offering, not a transaction. This is a step toward destiny, not a step away from reality. It is not about the weight of what can be stored, but the intention behind what is entrusted. Even a small shift reflects a heart that hears, a soul that recognizes the path not yet seen, but deeply known. Preparation is not about scale, it is about spirit. Something vast nears the horizon, an unseen movement building speed. It does not arrive by accident, but by design. And only those who've arranged their house with care and reverence will be ready to receive its arrival. This is sacred order, not fear-based preparation, but faith-born structure. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. What's required now surpasses strategies and spreadsheets. This is not mere planning. It is participation in a spiritual cycle. Each resource becomes a symbol, a gesture, a signal. What's held isn't passive. It's placed with intent, like kindling waiting for spark. Patience is the currency of this hour. To rush would be to undo what has been forming. Trust asks for delay, not detour. What's prepared in wisdom becomes multiplied in grace. As thoughts are guarded and actions restrained, a deeper current begins to move, one that honors timing over urgency and flow over force. Endurance becomes its own kind of wealth, not loud, not hurried, but solid. Holding position is not lack of motion, it is active belief. A breakthrough of this magnitude does not simply bless finances, it rewrites the soul's contract with the future. And when it comes, it will ask, "Were you ready?" A thin veil begins to lift, revealing something vast and unseen, an opening not into place, but into possibility. Through it flows more than increase. It brings transformation, but it cannot be entered casually. One must decide. To cross is to be made new. The old must loosen. The known must release. Step beyond the screen. Join and help light the way for others. Life itself reshuffles under this energy. What once felt fixed now offers motion, and with it, the chance to become something more than just prepared, something entirely reborn. The moment doesn't knock, it arrives, and when it does, it favors those with open hands and settled hearts. Embracing this shift means allowing a new structure to form. Resources aren't just tools, they're signals. What's done with them now echoes across timelines. These are not transactions, they're alignments, and through them, the architecture of miracle is being quietly built. A silent threshold is being crossed, one marked not by noise, but by disciplined stillness. To act before the sacred cue risks severing what was meant to flourish. Movement must follow the invisible rhythm, where each step made in trust unlocks doors hidden in plain sight. Wealth in this moment is no longer just exchange. It becomes a sacred instrument, attuned to higher resonance and intention. Navigating divine timing demands a kind of listening rarely practiced in a world addicted to urgency. The pace of spirit does not match that of the crowd. The greatest rewards are not seized, they're received through alignment. Decisions made in divine rhythm carry a potency that calculations never reach. What appears slow is often sacred acceleration in disguise. Signals do not always arrive dressed in certainty. They whisper rather than shout, appearing in instinct, a repeated thought, or the sudden clarity brought through another. The art is in noticing and in trusting what's sensed before it's proven. Truth coded in stillness, waiting for those who choose inner attention over outer distraction. When insight appears, hesitation delays breakthrough. Patterns are not random. They're choreography from the unseen. Responding swiftly with a quiet courage shifts the entire trajectory. The transformation does not begin when results appear, but the moment obedience meets opportunity in motion. To carry this call is to carry both gift and gravity. Those entrusted with this moment must be willing to shed comforts that shield but do not serve. This is not about losing, it's about unburdening, releasing what resists evolution. Outgrown beliefs, old assurances, ties to what dims the light meant to shine. What's laid down clears the way for what's meant to rise. Sometimes the path forward feels like stepping through fog, seeing only the next footfall. But what awaits isn't fear, it's formation. The ones who answer are sculpted through surrender. What feels like risk becomes refinement, and what felt like scarcity becomes seed for something eternal. It's the willingness to let go that becomes the hinge of transformation. Not every hand is ready to open, but for those who do, what once was clung to becomes the very ground upon which new identity is built. The shift is not only financial, it is total, systemic, rooted in spirit, and reflected in form. Resources are no longer static. They evolve into vessels of intention. Every part of life begins to rise to a new frequency. Connections flourish, health steadies, vision expands. It is not about receiving more, it is about becoming more. Legacy emerges not from accumulation, but from alignment. True richness isn't found in what's gathered, but in what flows from purpose. Scarcity dissolves as trust deepens. Decisions made from soul, not scarcity, unlock dimensions of possibility. Where once there were ceilings, now there are windows. The path becomes wide. And when divine wealth is activated, it does not merely shift the ledger, it alters the story. The elevation affects every sphere. Not just material access, but internal stature changes. Where once there were locked gates, now there are thresholds waiting for courage. Transformation is visible to the world, but sacred to the soul. The horizon teems with fresh paths, opening all at once, each carrying the pulse of purpose and elevation. What once seemed unreachable now feels drawn close by invisible hands. With certainty anchored in divine strength, it becomes clear. Life is no longer about surviving, but radiating influence shaped by sacred design. Finances no longer follow logic alone. They mirror a higher will, rewriting the personal narrative into one of clarity, overflow, and impact. A divine current has arrived, not as a whisper of possibility, but a command to rise. Delay no longer serves. The window narrows. The inner preparation, mental, emotional, spiritual, must now take form. This hour demands clarity, not questions, movement, not musings. What lies ahead cannot be met with doubt or fear. It requires a grounded courage, willing to break former patterns. Stepping into this moment isn't blind. It's bold. This is not a crossing of chance, but a fulfillment of alignment. What was once sown in restraint now prepares to unfold. Past discipline becomes the wind behind new elevation. It's time to trust that the season shifting was always set in divine sequence. The air of this time carries a specific charge, one woven with triumph, inner alchemy, and divine increase. There's no space now for second thoughts. The threshold invites total presence. To hesitate is to forfeit. This rare moment is shaped for those who understand the sacred cost of opportunity and choose to honor it fully. To embrace what calls requires parting ways with comfort. It might mean releasing connections, habits, or ideas that quietly diminish expansion. The reward, however, outpaces the release. This isn't a sacrifice of despair, it's a clearing for something far greater. God doesn't ask for empty hands, only open ones. Those who stall in fear risk standing still while destiny moves forward. Breakthroughs demand everything, not out of cruelty, but precision. What's waiting cannot be carried into with baggage. Faith fuels the leap, and trust builds the bridge. Everything required will be provided once the first step is made. This unfolding asks for more than external shifts. It calls forth a whole new posture of the heart. The path isn't about wealth alone, it's about awakening, mission, and becoming. Prosperity here is layered. It touches legacy, purpose, and impact, not just balance sheets. Step beyond the screen, join, and help light the way for others. The outpouring of blessing is not meant to pool. It's designed to flow through, blessing lives far beyond its origin. This is about stepping into generational impact. The call isn't just personal, it's collective. Each step forward becomes a ripple of divine effect. To walk wisely now means sharpening the senses to recognize signals not shouted but gently revealed. Transformation doesn't always come dressed in grand displays. It arrives in patterns, impressions, and sacred interruptions woven into the ordinary. There are signs embedded in repetition, symbols tucked into conversations, emotions stirred without explanation. When they arrive, they are not accidents. They are precise invitations to pause, to tune in. It takes quiet to hear clearly, and listening is the first act of obedience. What appears small is often encoded with divine purpose, repeating events, nudging thoughts, or moments that stir the soul are not background noise. They are guidance in disguise. To ignore them is to turn away from a whisper crafted for awakening. Silence becomes the space where clarity blooms. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. Moments of deep spiritual awareness are not meant to pass unmarked. They serve as signposts in a larger pattern unfolding. Writing them down creates a living map, a guide woven from personal revelation and insight. Sharing these moments with aligned souls sharpens clarity and widens perception. Still, the final compass remains within, intuition refined through presence and trust. The soul has always known how to hear what the world forgets. Amid distractions and chaos, it quietly listens for the original voice. Building a sanctuary of inner stillness prepares the spirit to move precisely when the sacred hour arrives. The more silent the posture, the louder divine clarity becomes. Value is not locked in what is visible. It pulses within the unseen charge of intention. Wealth carries potential, but lies dormant until awakened by consciousness. Money, when seen through a spiritual lens, becomes less about possession and more about purpose, a transmitter of vision into reality. This shift begins not with numbers, but perception. The view of wealth must evolve from transaction to transformation. What is held becomes a mirror of belief, and each choice is a silent agreement with the future. Currency transforms from lifeless paper into living resonance, shaped by what it is meant to grow. To ground this change in action, one must anchor their wealth in forms that mirror spiritual purity. Some materials carry a frequency more attuned to divine flow, echoing ancient harmonies of balance and expansion. Shifting into them is not for safety, it's for synchronization with what moves beneath the surface of things. Energy bends toward belief. Doubt distorts. Gratitude expands. Approach every resource not with fear of loss, but with honor for what it can become. Each act of reverence invites response, and from that reverence, results born of the unseen begin to form, far beyond the logic of ledgers. This is not mysticism without framework. It is alignment governed by spiritual principles as old as time. Energy obeys law. What is held in purity attracts its likeness. Prosperity, therefore, is less about acquisition than about calibration. Intention becomes the equation, not chance. When purpose and energy align, the result is multiplication without effort. Wealth ceases to be something earned. It becomes something summoned. Just as sound echoes stronger in chambers designed to carry it, finances aligned with spiritual intent magnify in all directions. The more attuned the vibration, the more powerful the result. Resources prepared in harmony with sacred patterns grow exponentially. Matter like silver and gold doesn't just preserve, it participates. Their molecular structure responds to frequencies that trigger increase and divine resonance. The moment you see yourself as a participant rather than a bystander, the entire system responds differently. Destiny is no longer something that happens to you. It becomes something shaped with your spirit's fingerprints. Co-creation is the sacred task. Partnership with the eternal is the invitation. Every transformation of substance requires timing. There's no substitute for alignment with divine rhythm. Move too early and the soil isn't ready. Too late and the door begins to close. The thread of timing is invisible, but it weaves through everything, and only those listening deeply will sense when to act. Deliberate restraint in moments of expectancy is not weakness. It is the highest form of trust. True alignment with divine rhythm requires more than passively waiting. It's the art of staying grounded while preparing in silence. The directive to pause, to preserve, to hold, until a sacred cue arrives is a call to precision. This patience is not stillness, it's movement under the surface, magnifying momentum for when the moment turns. Delays shape character in a way urgency cannot. Waiting teaches depth, not delay. It chisels out endurance, sharpens clarity, and burns away illusion. The space between instruction and execution becomes fertile ground where deeper truths take root. Acting in divine timing sends ripples across realms, impact felt far beyond the visible. Knowing when to hold back is not about control, it's about maturity. Flowing with divine rhythm invites grace. The current doesn't need to be forced, it carries when the spirit is aligned. Through that surrender, blessings are drawn naturally, not strained through effort alone. True readiness begins within. Inner terrain must be cleared of mental clutter and old spiritual dust. Residue from past disappointment or fear must be lifted to make space for what's destined. This renewal isn't cosmetic. It's a total reorientation of belief toward abundance that has always waited just beyond resistance. Before expansion flows, certain invisible barriers must be dissolved. Deep-seated beliefs about scarcity, shame, or lack can quietly halt the release of provision. Intentional reflection, sacred silence, and inner declaration reset this landscape, anchoring worth and confidence in truth.